The Legend of Zelda. It's a very niche series with only just a few games. 29 main games to be exact. So today's topic is, why is it The Legend of Zelda and not The Legend of Link? Just kidding. That's a topic for another time. We all know about Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom. Zelda 2? Yes, Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link. The second game in the franchise and the game no one talks about. Now, how would that come? Yeah, this game sucks. Sometimes. But it had potential and deserves better, and that's why I feel like it needs a remake. So let's talk about some pros and cons about the game and how they could fix some of those issues for a potential remake. So, what is the problem with Zelda 2 The Adventure of Link? Well, nothing at the beginning in this game tells you anything useful before reaching your first obstacle, which is the Dark Cave you have to go to progress to your first palace. There's barely any player guidance. There are reliable NPCs, but not at the beginning of the game. You gotta figure it out on your own, and while that is not a problem, it's not really well designed in this context. And I know the first game did that too, but I was able to walk around and find my way. Like, the first thing that happens to me was that I ran into a cave that was completely dark and fell down or got hit by bats or something like that. I didn't know how to progress. I got lost and then I gave up and left the game. Until one day I decided to get back to it and see if I could progress again. But this time I decided to check out a guide for the beginning of the section of the game. And that's when the game got more clear to me. I took a guide to be able to start the game. But that doesn't mean I don't like the game. I actually enjoyed it afterwards. And that's the problem, figuring out what they want you to do at first. If you won't, then you won't be able to progress and won't be able to enjoy the rest of the game. They could easily give you a candle or a light to fix the problem, to progress easier through the caves, but candles are available after or during the first dungeon. I feel like it makes more sense if an NPC in the nearby town handed you a candle before you entering the correct cave to progress. Maybe they could replace the candle item in the dungeon with a new item that brings either a new function or a mechanic to the game. That will fix one problem so far, and could also be something fresh to the remake. Other than that, the game was sometimes unfairly difficult. The Dark Cave at the beginning is part of that too, but to name a few other moments are, first off, the many obstacles you come across during your journey to a new palace. Some of those obstacles are in the form of enemy events, where one square tile in the overworld brings you to a 2D side-scroll section, and some are so unfair. There's one where they throw a million rocks at you, or those sections where with the bubbles that if you get hit also get pushed back and might fall into a pit that instantly kills you. Not to mention they drain a lot of your resources before you even reach a palace, which can be crucial when you finally enter one. And beside that, some of those pits are in the palace as well, but only worse! Those flying heads you see on the screen are so stressful. They're moving in a zigzag direction, and one wrong move and you're likely falling in the pit, losing your life. Those dragon heads are called Ras, and you're better off killing them off first. Just beware not to get pushed off. These enemies you see on the screen are the worst thing in this game for me. These things should never exist. I hate them. They're called Mao. These wolf heads, I think that's a head of a wolf. Anyway, they will never stop shooting at you from both left and right at the same time. There have been many times I've been struggling in places like that, shielding every shot while trying to quickly escape from the room, but also that doesn't go so well because you have to break so many blocks that are in your way while consistently shielding both projectiles from both sides if you don't want to get hit. Those rooms are very tedious to handle. I had to use save states during it, and even then it was still driving me insane. Then you have those flying skull heads, and if they hit you, you don't lose HP, you lose MP. I will tell you this, you don't want to lose your HP, but you definitely don't want to lose your MP. In fact, the last palace in the game has a boss fight that even requires having MP, because you need to use a specific spell to damage it. Now, those enemies aren't annoying or hard, but why does it take so long to kill them? I always felt like that was very unnecessary. They can have some HP, but a lot less than that. Some enemies are just so unavoidable in the off-road and palaces. Some of those palaces have unfair and poor placing, which makes it hard or barely able to counter them. I don't really want to change the enemies too much, because that might change the feel they had in the original. I won't even remove Mao. All I will do is make it more forgiving, because this game isn't forgiving at all, so this is almost like a balance patch. I don't want to come up with a solution to make a game more easier, but more accessible and still challenging. I feel like some games lose their charm if the difficulty decreases drastically. Of course, for some that's nice, but for some others that's not so nice to have. That's a 50-50 design choice. Now, I play difficult games, but in any difficult game, I want it to be difficult in a fair way, not difficult for the sake of being difficult, so we put unfair and unavoidable obstacles to hinder the player. I do like a good challenge. I think it will be nice to have infinite lives and checkpoints with a game like Zelda 2, or second solution, I think it's a better one, which is having lives, but every checkpoint is the last room you enter, and if you get game over, you just start over from the beginning of the palace. The same counts for the overworld. You lose a life, and you start at the last event you were, and if you get game over, you just start over from the last town you visited. I think that's fair enough. Then there's some challenge behind that. The pros that I will name are definitely things that should stay in the potential remake, like reliable NPCs. NPCs that give you hints to certain things, like where an item could be, for example. The cool skills and magic you learn. Even Super Smash Bros. Took one of those skills, and that's the up air and down air from all the links. I think that's a really cool nod to Zelda 2 despite its bad and mixed reputation. One of the more unique mechanics that Zelda 2 has that the others don't have are actually RPG elements like leveling or the encounters. To make it clear, I don't dislike the encounters. I often think that there are too many obstacles. But I like the idea of the basic encounters. Now, lots of the sites are associating Zelda with RPGs, and I never understood that because none of these Zelda games are like RPGs. Zelda 2 is the only game like that, and I think it's pretty cool. It makes it stand out from the other Zelda games much more, but in a good light then. The secret areas around the overworld are also a nice idea. I do think some areas should be hidden to add to that wow effect and discovery, especially with a game community as big as Zelda. And that's also where the NPC come in handy sometimes, handing out hints and tips about secrets. And of course, the OST of this game is phenomenal. Very adventurous that even Super Smash Bros. Took from it. It's crazy to see how Zelda 2 is represented in Smash Bros. And only the good things about it. Well, to sum it up, Zelda 2 is a very unique and different game from any other Zelda game. With a somewhat bad or mixed reputation, while there's always a second chance with a remake to show the good ideas they had. Take for example Metroid 2 Return of Samus. That game was in the same spot as Zelda 2, and they gave it a 3DS remake in the form of Metroid Samus Returns. So why not Zelda 2? And that's about it for this video. I'm glad that my previous video about my shell and jump fighting game concept was well received. Thank you all for supporting me, and thank you all for all the positive messages. I really appreciate it. Zelda 2 is such a nice game overall. It just took me so long to give it another try to finish it, but the moment I did, I thought this game needed a proper remake because it had good ideas. And if you're interested in Zelda 2, well, it's available on the Nintendo Switch Online NES catalog, so try it out if you like. Oh, by the way, I also wanted to mention this. I have a Twitter account and I'm mostly updating what's going on with my content there. So follow me there for that and other tweets. I hope you look forward to my next video. Don't forget to share and leave a comment down below. And again, thanks a million. Subscribe. See you in the next one.
Good.